Welcome to the Post Credits Podcast, where we talk about movies after the credits roll. My name is Jesse.
I'm Max.
And I'm Logan.
And today on the weekly spoiler review, we watch Markiplier get rattled around in a box for a while as we review his debut theatrical feature, Iron Lung.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is based on a video game of the same name by a developer named David Szymanski, I think is how you pronounce it. Follows you're the player, right? And you're inside the submarine in an ocean of blood, and there's something outside, but you don't know what, and you just have to go through between different waypoints on the map, taking pictures of various bone structures and anomalies and whatnot. So yeah, let's just start with the question that we always ask on these episodes. How did y'all hear about this movie?
I guess I could start with this one. I didn't know this movie was being made until I saw a live stream with Markiplier, who I guess I'll say before that I wasn't like an avid watcher of Markiplier during his FNAF days, YouTube days, or whatever you want to call it. I joined him fairly late, or a lot later, and I kind of watched on and off with his videos. I was never like the biggest watcher of his channel. But I did see him do a live stream a few years ago when he was talking about the FNAF movie, and that he was supposed to be in the first one but couldn't because he was filming a movie called Iron Lung. And that's all I heard about it, but that was over 2 years ago now. And I was convinced that we wouldn't see it for the longest time, and then 2 months ago got a release date of January 30th, 2026, and I was like, oh, that's that movie that Markiplier was doing that that caused him to not be in FNAF. So
Yeah.
I guess that's all knowledge I really have. I don't know anything about the video game or anything like that.
Yeah, I can't really say I've ever been a Markiplier fan. Maybe I watched one video of his, like, every so often. So, like, I was never really familiar with his production of Iron Lung, the movie. I may have seen his video of it, or maybe another YouTuber, explaining the lore and all that, as is the case with most of these new indie PS1 style horror games that kind of scratch my itch for, oh, cool lore. So, there's that going for Iron Lung.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Markiplier, and I've been following him for 10, maybe 12 years, basically since that wave of Five Nights at Freddy's content. And yeah, I heard about this movie as soon as it was announced. As soon as he said he was doing a movie, I was eagerly following its production, what it was, when it was filming. I heard he wasn't in Five Nights at Freddy's because he was working on Iron Lung. I remember there was a series of videos that he recorded where he had to record in his bathroom because he had a render farm going to like make the movie work. To render the movie, and it was too loud to be like in his office, so he had to record in the bathroom because it's the next most soundproof room in his house. I was there for the whole time that he was making this movie, and he could not secure distribution for the life of him. It was impossible for some reason, until he ended up striking a deal with 50 to 60 indie theaters across the country to distribute on January 30th, 2026.
Yeah, so I imagine you're pretty excited for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch our most anticipated list for 2026, this was my number 3. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that I was pretty excited for this one. And David Szymanski is also a game designer that I really enjoy. He makes very, very good cosmic eldritch horror things. Squirrel Stapler is one of my favorites from him.
Have you played Iron Lung prior to this?
So I did not play Iron Lung prior to the movie coming out, and after I watched the movie, I went back and watched Markiplier's playthroughs on the game. So I know what happens in Iron Lung now. I did not when I entered the movie. I think that's fairly important to note. And I also think it's worth talking about the production of this movie, the pre-release for this movie, because it's one of the weirdest or crazier stories in the entertainment industry right now. Markiplier struck a deal with 50 to 60 indie theaters, right, to distribute this movie. And through sheer word of mouth alone, that number grew to 4,000 theaters worldwide, up to, I think, 3,500 domestic, something just ridiculous, that it matched the wide release for the other big movie that came out this week, Send Help. They were in a similar amount of theaters nationwide, and all of that came from mostly the fandom, Markiplier's fandom, pushing the movie getting picked up into certain theaters. I mean, I'll say that I contacted our local theater to get the movie in there, which is how we were able to watch it in the first place, because I knew I wasn't missing this thing for the world. And yeah, now it's out in a ridiculously wide release that nobody anticipated, including Markiplier himself. And yeah, Markiplier, if you're not familiar, his real name is Mark Fishbach. He is a Let's Play YouTuber dating back to, like 2012? Later. No, earlier.
I know. He's been around for a long time, hasn't he?
He's been around for a really long time. I don't remember exactly what year it was that he started, but there was a time where he was one of the most popular people on the platform. One of the most followed YouTubers with some of the most subscribers. He was in the wave of Let's Play YouTubers in the vein of PewDiePie. Same sort of thing there.
His first public video is 13 years ago.
2013.
2013.
Could also be 2012, but the date hasn't rolled over yet. So yeah, around that.
Yeah.
And I think his first public video is actually the 5th video he made, because I think his other videos kind of got taken down around then. But regardless, that's Markiplier grew and did some interesting things on the platform YouTube. He directed and wrote 2 interactive movies for YouTube, A Heist with Markiplier and In Space with Markiplier. Both were quite good, and they essentially play out as a series of hundreds of short films that take you down a certain path, right? One short film ends, there are 2 short films, one for each decision that you can make in that short film, right? So there's a choice at the end, and then you get to click which one you want. And those are Markiplier's first directorial efforts, even if they're not traditional features. And now he's done this movie, Iron Lung. How familiar are you guys with the source material, if at all?
Not at all. I mentioned this kind of earlier, but Iron Lung, this whole world is new to me. I mean, Markiplier, I can count on 2 hands how many of his videos I've seen, but I don't know who the creator was of the game. I've never seen a play through of the game, but yeah, that's all I know, or I guess little knowledge that I have of the game.
Yeah, I do remember seeing some videos of it when it was popular, but I couldn't really tell you anything about it now.
Yeah.
So this was a completely new IP for me to delve into, essentially.
Yep. All right. So do we have anything more to say about Iron Lung before we jump into the plot?
I think let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This movie mostly tells its backstory through isolated lines of dialogue through the film, and then there's one opening bit of narration at the very, very beginning. I'm going to be recounting the events of the film chronologically, which means excluding most of the flashbacks and just giving those up front. So I will be spoiling a lot of the backstory of the movie right up front. That's your chance to click off. Okay. Iron Lung starts in the distant future. So this is a very long time in the future. And something happens called the Quiet Rapture. There are a bunch of people living on space stations, and from their perspective, every planet and every star disappears. And they can still see some of the stars because of how light travels, but every star effectively is dead. And every planet has completely disappeared. The only humans that survive are the ones on space stations and spaceships in space, right? They didn't disappear, but everything else did. So right now they're roaming space looking for any trace of humanity of what happened. And what they find is this moon called AT5. And the moon consists of one large ocean of blood. Just, it's all
Straight
blood.
up blood.
Just straight blood.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Our protagonist, his name is Simon, he's played by Markiplier, was a member of the Eden space station. Eden is the space station built around a tree. They call it the last tree because all the other trees were on Earth. And guess where Earth is? Well, no one knows. And so they had one tree, and they seem to believe that the more people they kill, the stronger the tree gets. And so it's their duty to kill as many people as possible, and they end up doing so by destroying a station called the Filament Space Station.
Yeah, maybe it was just me, but I didn't really get that part of the tree having people be killed and all that kind of stuff.
I missed all of that completely. I just knew it was all I got was guy on a submarine going in blood ocean.
Well, so they mention kind of briefly, like in flashbacks, that when people die, they become the soil, and the tree feeds off of the soil. Which is a lot of this is extrapolation as well, based on what we get, because it doesn't explain everything fully. So Simon loses his nerve right before the sabotage of the Filament Station. He insists he did not commit anything to kill anybody on the station. In fact, he tried to stop it, but regardless, he is imprisoned by the leading government, which I don't believe is ever mentioned in the film, but it is mentioned in the game. So
yeah, I don't recall it being mentioned in the movie, at least off the top of my head. Because it kind of jumped into things pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Full disclosure. There is an opening narration to the movie that we missed. We did not catch that opening narration.
Because I was waiting for a hot dog.
Yeah, because Logan was waiting for a hot dog. So so that's just putting that out there, that some of this might be covered in a part of the movie that we straight up did not see. I still thought that the story was well told, and I understood most of the story, but just if it was in the opening narration and nowhere else, we don't know it. The submarine, called SM-13, that's something you would never know from the movie, it's only in the game, is nicknamed the Iron Lung because it's the only thing keeping you alive in an ocean of blood, but it also sucks. It has one window that means nothing because you're in an ocean of solid red blood. So what would the window even be? And they welded the door shut on it so that you couldn't open it and depressurize the whole thing.
Reasonable, I guess. I don't want to depressurize. I wouldn't want to depressurize in a blood ocean either.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're a convict in there, you're
yeah.
gonna want to escape.
Yeah. And also, I had a feeling that the ship was called the Iron Lung, just not knowing, because they mentioned that, like, the ship was punctured. It was very, like,
very
puncturing a lung.
Yeah.
Like puncturing a lung, and I was like, oh, that's probably where the title comes from.
Yes. It's, the submarine is called Iron Lung, and the only way that Simon can see out of the ship is through an X-ray camera. We don't know it's an X-ray camera, but it can't be a regular camera because, again, blood, solid red, can't see through it. So it's an X-ray camera so that they could see through it.
Which, I mean, isn't that the main mechanic of the game?
Yes.
If you take pictures of the outside. I really like that part, especially how that's adapted into the movie, because that's really the only place that I could, find. I'll talk about this later, but where I saw suspense being built up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really a thing that's like utilized suspense in tense moments. I mean, in the rest of it, in my opinion.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So then the ship also has a couple of other functions. It has readouts, so you could see what your coordinates are on a 1,000 by 1,000 grid. That is the part of the ocean that they intend for him to chart. A little controls so you could change the angle that the ship is pointing, and then motion sensors that tell you, or rather the motion sensors. I think proximity sensors is a better term for them, because they detect when things are close to the submarine, and they give, with little like buttons, little lights, they say where exactly the thing is. Then there's also oxygen, which in the game really just functions as a countdown till the end of the game. But in this movie, obviously, having a limited amount of oxygen is a point of difficulty. Yeah. And then there's the camera. The camera in the game takes a lot longer to function than it does in the movie, because no one wants to sit around waiting for the camera to boot up. Also, in the movie, and they use this to good dramatic effect, the camera is backlit. The readout is backlit. It provides light, and it shines light on the back of the submarine, which it doesn't do in the game. So then we get to the actual movie. Simon is getting kind of radio communications from this, I suppose, like higher up at the, like that's telling him what to do. She is named Ava. She's played by Carolyn Kaplan. They're conversing back and forth. Simon takes a couple pictures, and he finds what appears to be a skeleton, right? And they bring him back up, and he says, all right, I'm done now. I'm good. I'm free. I can go. And they say, no, of course not. We need you to go back down and sample the skeleton. And there's a cool scene where she's talking to him through the window, but the window keeps dripping blood because he was just in the blood ocean. So she keeps having to wipe off the blood in order to see him. And this movie also broke the record for most fake blood in a movie ever.
I imagined it did.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it didn't. I mean, what was the one that held the record previously?
2013's Evil Dead held the record previously.
Oh.
The Fede Alvarez film.
As someone who's seen that movie, it makes sense why that was before.
I believe Evil Dead used 50,000 gallons of fake blood. This one used 80,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just both very bloody movies. Although
very, very bloody. But this one's less gory and more just the blood is
straight
there.
up liquid blood.
Yeah, it's liquid, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have chunks, hopefully not chunks flying around in a blood ocean, because that's kind of gross.
I mean, there's implied to be chunks,
Are-
like congealed masses where you go in the ocean. They do mention that.
Yeah, they mentioned that there's not really an ocean floor in the blood ocean. It's just tightly congealed and tightly packed congealed blood that sometimes gas bubbles rise up through, and it causes weird tremors. Anyway, Simon's going back down, and he's not happy about going back down. So to get people's attention, he flashes the camera, which ends up blasting all of the crew with X-ray radiation.
It's a cool image. Like, it kind of reveals it is an X-ray because, you know, there's bones.
Yeah, everybody shows up as skeletons. And
Oh, it was scary.
oh.
Yeah, it's a cool little effect. I thought that was well handled.
Skeletons.
Right. But then they have to deal with the fact that he just blasted everyone with highly concentrated X-ray radiation, and most of them need to go to the infirmary for treatment. And we find out later that everybody he blasted has mega cancer. So, you know, not
Medical
great.
terminology.
Yeah, mega cancer. It's an official diagnosis. And yeah, it's not great for the continued survival of humanity. So he dives him back into the blood ocean. He finds a couple of things. Number one, the skeleton's moved. They say it's because of the gas bubbles at the floor. He also finds a little note that says, cross the wires. And so and it's under this like computer terminal, there's two stripped wires that he touches together, and the computer boots to life and automatically plays an audio message, right? That says a couple of things. It says that A, being put in the submarine is just a roundabout way of executing convicts, right? And it confirms that Simon wasn't the first, despite the fact that Ava said that he was the first. And it also ends with the line that was used as the tagline for the film, "They will get their execution, and I will get my freedom." It's about this guy wants to die on his own terms while he's in the submarine. And yeah, that whole message is a note that you find in the game lying on your computer terminal
Oh,
in the submarine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, game reference. I'll try to point out as many as I can. The production design for one is very faithful to the original game. And yeah, I'll try to point out as many references as I can, but I don't know all of them. So.
I will say, as someone who isn't familiar with the Iron Lung mythos, so to speak, it kind of has less of an impact on me not knowing like the background knowledge, because I mean it's such like a small little developed world compared to like something like Fallout, let's say, because it's so massive and there's so much there to unpack. And so I mean, as far as a game adaptation, a movie adaptation of a game, this is done especially well considering how little lore the actual source material gives us. So
Yeah, and I will say this, for better or worse, like you can tell Markiplier is really passionate about Iron Lung. I know you kind of mentioned Fallout, but it's like Fallout's like it's so like there's so many locations in such a big world. This is kind of like almost the opposite. Like it's set in a submarine,
Right.
so it's just like very different experiences, and kind of funny that the season 2 of Fallout and this movie are kind of coming out around the same time. It's kind of interesting just to see how like video games are adapted in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And also, I do want to point out that I didn't know this game before going into it, so I watched the gameplay just so I could point out the references for the podcast, but the fact that there are references doesn't factor into my enjoyment of the movie, as we'll discuss later. Important to note because, again, I don't want this to feel like an Easter egg hunt like Five Nights at Freddy's 2 did, if you remember that episode.
Yeah.
Another video game adaptation. Simon believes that he has photographed a living creature. And to be fair, there's reasonable evidence to suggest he has, given that a living creature had decided to grab onto the submarine and shake it all about. And
you do the hokey pokey and you
As
turn
they do.
yourself around. Because that's what it's all about in Iron
is
Lung.
this when they reveal what it looks like in the X-ray photo? 'Cause it's some sort of like anglerfish with big old teeth, like
Yeah,
Finding Nemo looking.
Yeah, a little bit.
So they
Finding Nemo.
They don't reveal exactly what it looks like until a little later, but we do see its eye pressed against the window.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, we see its eye pressed
Oh.
against the window
That
of
was
the
an eye?
submarine.
I thought
Yes.
it was a butthole.
Ooh. Changes things, doesn't it? That eye image is also the final image that the game leaves you on. The second to last waypoint, you take a picture, or it's not the second to last waypoint. Between the second to last and the last waypoints, the sub shakes around, and if you take a picture outside the sub while it's shaking around, you get the picture of the eye that he recreated in the movie. And then in the last waypoint, it kills you. That's the end of Iron Lung. Spoiled it.
Uh-oh.
For our spoiler review.
No, our spoiler review for Iron Lung. I spoiled Iron Lung.
Oh my god.
Gosh.
Lock this guy up.
Yeah, so he thinks there's a living creature outside. He ends up finding the skeleton again, and
Yeah.
he takes a picture of it, and in the background, he believes he finds like a living creature. But what Ava says is just ram into the skeleton and it'll automatically collect a sample, right? They put a little attachment on the front of a submarine that collects a sample whenever he rams into something. So he decides to do it, and he rams into the skeleton and then gets knocked unconscious because he rammed into the skeleton. Because, like, come on. It's a lot of motion, then it's a sudden stop, and he gets thrown about. And he finds himself at a completely different area than when he started, which is kind of something that happens in the game as well, where you'll be going around and then you're in a different place, and you're like, how did I get there?
Doesn't he like fall into the little cave thing
Yes.
at this point?
He falls into a little cave, which is off the charted area, where he takes a picture of his surroundings. He takes a picture, turns around, takes a picture, and we see the anglerfish creature for the first time in its entirety. At this point, he also starts to kind of hallucinate a little bit. We get some flashbacks to Eden and Filament Station, and things like that.
We get a little seaweed blob man in the back of the ship. Remember?
Oh yeah, there's a fun seaweed blob man. Yeah, something. So there's a crawl.
Oh wait, no, that was before he finds the note in the computer terminal.
Yeah, so there's a weird shadow that walks around the back of the submarine sometimes. It seems to emerge out of this crawl space area. And yeah, it's also important to note that I should mention the crawl space because his submarine lost power completely. And he
uses the X-ray to light the submarine.
Right.
Yeah,
Does he put intervals, and that's a really cool effect.
Yeah, does he put like tape or something
He puts
over it?
tape around it so that it would, in theory, give a constant light source, but the tape keeps falling, and
Really cheap tape.
Yeah, and he finds like water, and he chugs all of it because he's really thirsty, and then he puts on, or he has this life jacket with a water-activated light that he tries and uses a flashlight in this crawl space below the submarine where the engine reset is.
Why, oh why did he have to do it?
Yeah, and then he
managed to completely dry out that water bottle.
Yeah.
I mean,
it. I don't.
gotta respect it, honestly. Sure. He ends up lighting it up with his saliva, and then he goes down.
It should have been the first thing you thought of.
Yeah, well, if you see a water-activated light, is your first thought going to be saliva or the bottle labeled water?
Well, the bottle labeled water that you just drank from. So.
Yeah, but I don't think he expected to dry out that whole thing.
Yeah, what if it was misleading? What if there wasn't water in there?
Well, he should be concerned because he just drank the whole thing.
Yeah, he's like, why does this red Gatorade taste kind of funny?
Yeah, I thought that he was just going to jump out of the ship and use the lifeboat to float.
He's like, yeah, I use the water outside. Oh wait a minute. I don't think we can do that.
Oh yeah, our audience really liked that lifeboat, that life jacket joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was just one woman who was like cackling. It was like she thought it was like the funniest thing. She's like,
oh my god.
Are we sure she wasn't screaming?
It was scary. There's skeletons out there.
There was skeletons.
Skeletons.
Yeah, so Simon goes through this cave. There's a whole montage of him going forward and then hitting a wall and then going the other way and charting what the cave looks like. That cave is actually the whole map of the game Iron Lung. Reference.
Cool.
No, I would have assumed it was a map to the Yellow Brick Road map to the Wizard of Oz.
Well,
Obviously.
I just assume that.
Obviously.
It's Iron Lung.
Well, obviously.
We reviewed Wicked a while ago.
Yeah.
Haven't been back to Oz since.
Yeah, it's the map that Boots gave Dora, or the backpack that gave Dora.
The backpack. Never mind. Okay.
Give us one more map reference to finish us off.
Yeah, if I think of one, I'll throw it out there.
Finish strong. Yeah, so Simon manages to exit the cave and he finds this other submarine, this wrecked submarine called SM-8. The black box data automatically transfers to his computer, but he can't access any of it because he doesn't have the proper authentication to do so. A woman starts talking to him through the radio also. That's fun. Whenever the radio goes off, a little yellow light lights up to reveal that people are talking through it. Simon actually ended up breaking the radio because it kept informing him that the hull had been breached, which, to be fair, it has. The window has cracked.
Was that what it said?
Yeah, it said hull breached.
Hull
And it also said fire,
breached.
fire, fire, because there was a fire.
No way.
Previously, there was a fire.
I don't remember that.
But Simon destroyed it, like he cracked it and removed it from the wire because it was yelling at him. And so he doesn't realize that the person talking to him isn't actually talking to him through the radio. He thinks it's a group of survivors, right? And the people he's talking to say that there is some godly light beneath the ocean, right?
Eldritch horror.
Yeah, weird eldritch horror. And they actually give him coordinates, and those coordinates are actually charted. Those are charted coordinates, which seems to suggest on some level that the government has been there in previous submissions, right? And then he starts hallucinating again. He hallucinates that the whole submarine is destroyed, and he floats up to the surface of the blood ocean. We actually see the blood ocean, and it's a lot of blood. And he
I'd
rises.
imagine. I mean, it's a blood ocean.
No, it's just a little bit. Just a touch.
He also forgot to mention when he did take a, I think it was on the X-ray picture, and there was this little boy made of light and angel wings, and it kind of reminded me of the. Do you remember what I said? It reminded me of
The angel.
Air
Force
Force.
One angel from Monument Mythos.
Yeah, pretty
Oh.
much.
So yes, he actually goes to those to those coordinates, and he sees the shining godly light, and he sees it, and then he starts hallucinating that he's broken the surface of the ocean of blood. He stands up covered in blood,
And the lady on the speaker is like just
She's like
saying stuff.
Yeah, she's flipping out,
rattling off. Yeah.
I don't think I heard not one word from the speaker like during that whole thing.
That is the thing. The sound mix in this movie is not great. It's hard to hear a lot of things. Especially when two characters are talking at once, as will happen a lot later on. Oh boy, it's really hard to pick out any specific line. But the image that Simon sees is of this big red eye and this large red storming sky. And then he wakes up. And at this point, it's no surprise, really, that Markiplier had to go to the hospital for getting an excess amount of fake blood in his eyes.
Which, watching this, you could see why, because it's a lot.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fake blood. He wakes up back in charted territory and in radio range of the drop ship with Ava. He actually is like, no, this isn't real. The last thing wasn't real, so this isn't real because I unplugged that speaker, but he checks and the speaker is actually plugged in. Ava says that he's been missing for a very long time and that his oxygen supply should have run out at some point. And I think he's only down to He's down to 25% oxygen, essentially.
Did they ever really explain the oxygen thing? Because I kind of missed that.
Yeah, I did
Because
too.
it like goes up at a point.
Yes,
too.
he goes up at a point. It's just an indication that things aren't as they should be. Because in theory, the oxygen is the big barrier to him staying down for a long period of time. Because there's a limited amount of oxygen in the ship. And also, as carbon dioxide builds up, his mental state becomes a little bit more fragile because he's sleepier and he's hallucinating a little bit more because there's no ventilation in this place. But beyond that, it's just like... this should have happened. You should have died from lack of oxygen, but you didn't. And that's strange and odd. But then Ava, in her infinite wisdom, this is also when she reveals she has mega cancer. Oh
boy.
She says that Simon should go back out and recover the data from SM8 because she'll give him the proper authentication. And so he ends up going there and doing that. And a couple of things are revealed. For one, Simon's body is starting to morph weirdly. Something about the radiation and also maybe just some strange effects of the blood and the god that resides within the blood. But little bumps are appearing all over his body. He starts looking like the Thing from Fantastic Four.
He kind of reminded me of Swamp Thing a little bit.
Yeah. He turns a little bit more and more into Swamp Thing as this last sort of sequence happens.
Yeah.
But it's also revealed that the blood in the ocean is human blood, which seems like we would take it a little bit for granted, but it's weird when you think about it because all of humanity disappeared. And now there are actually 4 in the game, but this ocean of blood has just kind of randomly appeared. And it's human blood, and they actually say the blood is human, which not only suggests that it is human blood, but potentially that it is alive on some level.
Ew.
At this point, the sub.
Gross blood.
Yeah. The
Wait.
blood's
Wait,
alive.
there's blood?
Yeah.
There's blood in this movie.
Oh my God, there's blood. Cover your eyes. Cover your eyes.
Look, first there was skeletons. I could handle that. I know it's, but like the blood.
Blood?
Come on.
Blood in my blood movie?
No, not the blood in the blood movie.
Yes. So the sub is flooding with blood and weird flesh that is growing along the walls. Ava tries to go out to rescue Simon, but it doesn't work. She's destroyed and she dies. She says before she dies to protect the data from SM8, the black box, because it's all that's left of humanity, basically. And it also contains proof and coordinates for where that radiant glow of light is. And we know that that radiant glow of light has to be important because for whatever reason, the woman's voice that was talking to him on the speakers before returns and says that he needs to hide all evidence that that glowing light ever existed.
It's at this point, it's kind of implied that the woman's voice is the whatever deity is there.
Right. The woman's voice is like she's like Cthulhu.
It's
essentially she is the god that is represented by this weird bony angler whale.
the fact that it is like it's someone trying to do a gruff evil monster voice. It really kind of threw me off of the whole weirdness of the monster. Just made it seem kind of try-hardy in my opinion.
There's a oh gosh, how do I so there's an effect, like a filter that they apply to this woman's voice.
She's just talking like this, right? I'm a monster. Blah.
Yeah, and it,
Blah blah blah. We got Dracula's in the other speaker.
yeah, and it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Like the voice doesn't
They
sound.
just put
No,
a bunch
no,
of
it does
effects and
not.
said, "Oh, sounds like a god monster."
Yeah, basically. That's too bad,
Yeah.
honestly, because it could have been really, really cool. But
Could've
it didn't
minimalized it.
it didn't hurt my enjoyment too much. At least for me. I see what you're
I'm
saying.
more sensitive to that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so basically the fish is saying don't destroy the data, because if the data gets out, it's good. Everyone will learn about the light, and we don't want anybody else to learn about the light.
Doesn't it also reveal that it caused the quiet rapture or whatever it's called?
Yeah, it's the thing that caused the quiet rapture.
I'd rather that have not been explained. There's a lot. I mean, the lore they do build off is kind of mixed, but the fact that they reveal that this weird planet has stuff to do with the cosmic super hyper event of this whole entire world, it kind of trivializes it for me.
I disagree, because on some level, this thing has happened, and then this other cosmological event in which human blood has appeared to form an entire moon. They can't not be connected. And also, I think it's the fish that says that the light caused the quiet rapture, which is not something that I think, are supposed to believe just based on their say-so. Because it's the thing that's telling
it was the
Simon
only
to
thing that's
bury the
telling
light.
us that, and there's nothing else saying otherwise, so I can't really see the lore being that deeply mentioned and me being engaged in it in that way. It's more of a show not tell kind of thing for me. Like, oh, this is how it happened. I'm the authority on this. Blah, I'm the monster. And
I don't think the monster is the authority.
I mean, you could theorize that, but for me, I have no other frame of reference who could be, so I'm just gonna go with that. Maybe there's a Matt Pat video talking more about this movie that I would want to sit down and enjoy, but here we are.
I think the way that I think about it is this monster has been the thing acting to impede Simon's progress, essentially, So I don't see why we would trust it, but I also get what you're saying, that they don't say anything beyond that, and that's the one hint that we get of what caused the quiet rapture is from that source. So I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Simon retrieves the black box. He ties it around his vest, his life vest. Remember the life vest from earlier?
The funny
Yeah.
life vest.
The funny life vest. Yeah. It's back. He then turns this shield off outside that was preventing the iron lung from collapsing under pressure.
Why would you do that?
Well,
I
mean,
haven't the slightest idea.
I think.
Are you stupid? Why would you do that?
Well, I think he did it for a couple of. I think he did it because he wanted the black box to be retrieved, and I don't think he thought that he could safely get it back to the ship without the submarine being destroyed. Like, if the sub doesn't collapse and he just stays in the sub, and it just floats on and he dies, the sub's closed and just floating anywhere, right? And they would need to send out a dropship mission to go and get it. Whereas if it breaks, he can let the black box float to the surface where it's a little easier to retrieve, I think was the thinking behind it.
Oh, okay.
At this point also...
I didn't really get that.
At this point also, fleshy vines have started growing and they grab onto Simon's like body, and he, in order to free himself and turn off that shield, he rips his arm off. So he's kind of in a weakened state, and he turns off the shield. The creature bites down on the sub, crushes it, and then the final shot of the movie is the black box floating with the life vest at the surface of the blood ocean, suggesting that it survives and hope remains alive for humanity. And then credits roll on Iron Lung.
Yay.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of funny detail, but I think the last 5 minutes, the theater we were in, the lights randomly turned on a little too early.
The lights turned on.
You're like, all right, pack it up.
All right, let's go.
So
Come
here's the
on.
thing. Our theater, maybe it's because it's an indie film. They started and ended at weird times. Like normally, you know how you walk into a theater and then there's like 30 minutes of trailers. Our theater normally plays 10, and they played like only 5 for this movie.
I mean, we did walk in 5 minutes late, so
Yeah,
there's that too.
we did walk in a little late, but not so late that it would be unreasonable for them to still be playing trailers.
Yeah, and also like for an indie movie, like what do you show in front of it? Because usually when I see indie movies in theaters, they show like very specific things, and for a movie like Iron Lung, that didn't have a whole lot of distribution and things like that. Like, what do you show in front of it?
I assume you show just whatever the hell you want, whatever you think is going to get you the most tickets from the Iron Lung crowd, which is, I don't know, horror.
It was a packed
horror
theater,
buffs, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
relatively.
they could have shown any number of trailers and gotten a lot of people to buy tickets, but nope, I guess not, because this was one of the most full showings that we've ever been to of any movie at this theater. And for the weekly spoiler review as a whole, because we've pretty much always gone to that theater for weekly spoiler review episodes, except the ones that we recorded online.
Except the Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages when we were on
mid-December of the post-credits podcast.
It was
yeah,
and
solving flashbacks.
And then also Wicked, which was a dark age in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dark as in I fell asleep, but that's another story.
it happens.
So yeah.
What do you guys think of Iron Lung?
The more I marinate on it in blood, that's a joke.
Oh.
Anyways, the more I think about Iron Lung, the less I really care for it.
Wow.
Like the whole lore aspect, I think it's pretty cool having grown up with analog horror and that sort of, the word I'm trying to look for, ambiguous storytelling. That's more what I want to see from an IP coming from that era. I think too much was revealed, and it was revealed sloppily, and there was a lot of weird stuff that I would rather have not have known about, like, oh, the scary monster there's also a god in the blood ocean, and oh, it caused this hyper cosmological bad event thing, and oh, there's these things and this and that and all
Well,
that. I'd rather it have been told in a, I would say, more ambiguous, but that's different than like sloppily. I think there's a difference to that I would have wanted all that to be revealed.
so first of all, let me just start by saying I love this movie. I think Iron Lung is fantastic.
Yeah.
I liken it to something like Event Horizon, Paul W.S. Anderson, his cosmic horror movie. It feels very similar. I think this movie left me with a lot more questions. Partially, part of that was I didn't trust when the fish said that the light caused the quiet rapture. That sounded like something the fish would say to get to stop Simon from saving humanity, right? Or at least to stop Simon from progressing towards saving humanity.
I kind of disagree with that interpretation, but I see where you're coming from.
I think the question with the fish is also, did the fish cause the quiet rapture, or is the fish born of the quiet rapture?
Or is the fish like an expression of whatever deity caused it, or is it some different thing entirely?
Right, and there's a plot in Event Horizon, which is why I brought it up, about the ship, the Event Horizon. There's something that happens to the ship after it jumps transdimensionally, and a lot of that movie is the question: was that true of the ship before the jump, or is it a product of the jump? Which I think is the same question this is kind of leaving us with. Is the fish in the blood ocean what caused the blood ocean, what caused the quiet rapture, or was it born of the quiet rapture? Did the quiet rapture somehow create this blood ocean that this thing just so happens to inhabit?
Yeah, I guess for me, that's not really a question that I'm necessarily interested in being explained. More so,
Yeah, I guess same for me.
I'd rather have the quiet rapture not been given an origin story at all, in my opinion, and they focus more on I'd rather they have focused more in the storytelling on the people, and then just left the cosmic horror element as an ancillary point that gets revealed in other more creative ways, I'd say, rather than just as all the points I've said before.
Yeah, Max, what did you think?
Yeah. All right, my turn. So, I guess it's important to note that while we're doing this podcast, it has been a few days since we have seen Iron Lung. And after processing it for a few days, I will say this. I'm so happy for Markiplier that not only he got to make this movie, but got to distribute it the way he did. The amount of money that's making at the box office is such an achievement. And it, in a sense, goes against Hollywood, like the traditional format of Hollywood in, I would say, the best way possible in terms of how this movie's doing financially. And the fact that so many fans of Markiplier are loving this movie. I know Jesse said earlier that he's a really big fan of this movie. As for me, my experience with this movie, I will say this. This is probably one of, if not now, the quintessential movie I will point to of a movie that I respect dearly. I did not enjoy this movie at all. I found the viewing experience, different from theatrical experience, because I saw it with these two guys, which was really fun, as always, to see movies with them. And we were in a packed theater, which we don't experience too often, which was fun in and of itself. The viewing experience, this movie runs at 2 hours and 7 minutes for a movie that takes place, or 95% of it takes place in one location. For me, I was bored to tears throughout the majority of this movie. I didn't really latch on to that much. I constantly felt like on a story level, I was being left behind with certain details. Like, it felt like there was a couple things where just I didn't know what the mission was. I didn't know what was going on. And then it gets to a point where I feel like there's just a lot of repetitive filmmaking choices, shots, scenes like that, where it's just like they show multiple times of the blood on the window. They show, obviously, like the projector so many times. I mean, the bright flash of white light. I'm sure you'll see that.
And I mean, to be fair, there's only so much you can show in that location. But yeah, I see what you mean. They could have diversified how they shot each thing,
Yeah.
which I think they do to an extent with the amount of blood that gets shown and the weirdness that is, goes on around it. But yeah, there could have been a little more of that.
I think so, and I think part of it is just like I know Jesse disagrees with me on this one, but I feel like the runtime I think was 30 minutes too long. I feel like for self-contained thrillers like this, I feel like hour 25, hour and 30 minutes. I feel like if that's what this movie runtime was, I think it would have flowed a little bit better, at least for me personally. But this is a film that, on a filmmaking standpoint, I think Markiplier has a lot of promise, and I want him to keep doing what he's doing, and I want this movie to be as successful as it can be. But I think it's also important to note that this movie isn't for everybody. Even though like I didn't really enjoy this one per se, but I can totally see why other people would. And part of me feels really bad that I championed it so much. But if you ask me how I was watching it, it wasn't the best. And even more so, I decided to chug a whole cup of Dr. Pepper before, like at the beginning of this movie, which like during the middle I ran out.
Too bad either.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But
we paid in other ways.
Yeah, but overall, because it's like this is a movie that I feel like I could do like two different ratings for. Like on a filmmaking standpoint, I would rate it a little bit higher, but on just an enjoyment level, it would be a lot lower. But I'll kind of factor that into my final rating once we get there. But at least for me, I respect this film greatly, but in terms of enjoyment, I can't say this is one I latched onto too much.
Yeah, in terms of filmmaking technique, there are a couple comments I want to say. First of all, how this works as a thriller rather than a horror. This movie works great as a thriller movie. As a horror, not really that much. First, there's the little detail of, the depth of field for your average shot. This movie has the single lowest average depth of field out of any movie that we've watched. Like every other shot there's only like a couple inches where Markiplier's face is in focus. And there's so many like close-up shots of these different things, like the oxygen thing and the light and the buttons and the thingamabobs and all that.
The bits and bobs.
The bits and bobs
and
pieces here and there.
I'm kind of mixed on that as a filmmaking decision. I would have rather, and this is probably just me expecting this to be more of a horror than a thriller. I would have rather wanted to experience the claustrophobia of the Iron Lung more. As in, I would have rather the depth of field be a lot larger and in comparison to the ship, because having things be out of focus even like a foot away or a couple inches away, that makes the ship seem a lot bigger than it actually is. And to me, that really doesn't sell for me. I would rather the ship felt a lot smaller, because I mean that's kind of a thing you'd expect with being trapped in a rusty tin can in an ocean filled with blood. You're gonna feel some of that claustrophobia. You're gonna feel the walls closing in on you, and I didn't really see that much in the movie. And
yeah,
another thing is, I think maybe Jesse disagrees with me on this a little bit, is the lack of the payoffs of tense moments, whether that be jump scares or another way that pays off. I didn't really see much tension being built to a high degree and then again paid off. I saw the tension was mostly fairly consistent throughout this whole movie, and I mean I like that for a thriller, but again I would have rather seen this as a horror with differing modes of tension throughout the movie, throughout the runtime. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on everything you said. I feel like in a sense, like I feel like it kind of loses a lot of the claustrophobia. And, I feel like, if it was in a smaller room for the same runtime, it would have driven me nuts. But I feel like, if you shorten it a little bit and also just like really hone in on the claustrophobia side, and then also I think moments of tension where I could see potential in Markiplier as a filmmaker. So I feel like he's great at starting it, but in terms of fleshing it out, I think he kind of got lost a little bit. Like I never felt like the tension built. It felt like he just started it and then it just kind of lost me.
Yeah, give credit to where credit's due. My favorite scene in terms of tension being built in the horror element is when the lights go out and Markiplier has to crawl under the floors
Yeah.
to reach the engine. That's really where you feel that sort of tight spaces in uncertainty, what's behind you or even what's going on in the vastly bigger space that's just above you. The way that was shot, I really liked that.
Yeah. It was really well done. For a second there when you said lights, I didn't know if you're going to say when the lights came on in the theater.
That was scary as
That was
hell.
scary. Oh my god, there's lights.
Oh, it was very
And then
immersive.
Maria Menounos pops on the screen. Ah! Oh my god, cover my eyes. Oh my god. But
So yeah.
yeah, I thought that was handled pretty well. I also liked my favorite filmmaking technique from Markiplier was the speaker where like he's talking to it and they kind of blur out some things in the background and he takes the wire but it's not plugged in and he realizes that he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
Very well, really well done.
I like
Excuse me.
the speaker POV shots as well, where it's behind like the little wire mesh
Yeah.
to like, POV eyes, the speaking voice.
All right. I have a couple of thoughts that most of which disagree with a lot of what you guys are saying. So
Yeah,
I'll-
go for
I'll-
it. Go
I'll
for it.
present them.
Let's hear him. Let's hear him.
So I do agree. It does feel a little less claustrophobic than maybe you would like it to be. I think what it makes up for it makes up for its lack of claustrophobia with its isolation. The movie is doing a lot of risky things by trying to make the audience sit with a lot of negative feelings that you wouldn't normally want to experience. Like, for example, it's 2 hours and you're on this cramped submarine with a guy who's slowly losing his sanity. You're supposed to feel like you're going insane a little bit.
And we have no snake for the snake movie.
And it's like, it's not something that a movie would normally try to get you to feel. Or even if a movie makes you feel that way, it's not usually a positive thing. It's not usually, wow, I felt like I was going crazy watching that movie, 5 stars. That's not usually the way we think about how we feel about movies. And same thing with the eldritch horror element. We're supposed to feel a little bit like weird walking away from the movie because we don't truly understand, and we never will. That's the thing that you have to internalize when analyzing this kind of horror, is that there is no way for you to possibly understand. It makes you feel like we live in a 3D slice of a 4D world, which is actually part of like the quiet rapture. If you think about what that means on a 4D plane, literally, if you move the entire solar system an inch over in 4D, you've completely erased it from the 3D slice that we live in. And there's no way to comprehend that. Our brains aren't built to comprehend the fourth dimension. Just thinking about it gives us a headache. And that's not like an easy thing to do. To go into something saying, no one can understand this. Not even the filmmaker, really. I mean, the filmmaker probably has ideas of what happened in an abstract sense, what caused the quiet rapture. There might be something responsible or some mechanic by which it happened. But it's not a thing that we can really comprehend happening in real life. This godly presence, this divine presence, and this endlessly sophisticated event that there's really no way to rationalize, to intellectualize, at least in our limited understanding of the fourth dimensional world. I think it does that really, really, really well. And it's not an easy thing to do in a movie. To go in, tell the audience that they're never going to understand this and still deliver a product that's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
That's worth something. And I agree that maybe I don't think the movie would have been better if the depth of field was larger. I think the movie works a lot better from a filmmaking standpoint where you know where to look. And I think the focus kind of draws your eye in that way. And I think the game portrays the claustrophobia quite well, and I'm glad that the movie actually went somewhere different instead of the game, because the game, there's only 2 directions that you can move, forward and backwards, because there's only that plane. It's so small. Whereas in the movie, I mean, the set's going to be bigger so that you can fit Markiplier and a camera in there. And so I'm glad it went from the isolation angle, right? Iron Lung, the game, is a 45-minute back-to-front experience. The movie is a 2-hour experience, so you're spending longer inside the submarine with one person who is slowly losing their mind, and you're supposed to feel that as well. And I think it does that really, really well, and it's a really, really good way of adapting the feeling of the game. And I thought it made for quite a fantastic viewing experience. I was never bored. I felt tension throughout the whole thing.
I mean, fair. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have the same experience that you did, which I'm honestly kind of jealous at. But it all kind of goes back to something I said towards the beginning, which is like this movie's not for everybody. I'll just say that up for it's not for everybody. And everything you were kind of saying about what the film does well, it's either gonna like really click with you, or it'll probably just lose you entirely. Like, I doubt, I don't want to speak ahead for everybody who's seen this one, but I feel like you won't see people that will say Iron Lung is okay. I feel like you see people that like, I love this movie, or maybe that wasn't for me. Like, I don't see a lot of people just going, oh, that's okay, because I feel like when you talk about both sides, I don't see what you would say that's just fine. Because I feel like, storytelling tactics and everything and pacing of the movie, it'll either click with you and you have a lot of things that you think about when the credits roll, or you're kind of just like me, to where it's just like there's not much that grasped me, and by the end I was like, it didn't really make much of a mark.
Yeah, and from a comparative standpoint, whether you're looking at this movie through the lens of, oh, I've already played the game, or vice versa, for me, having only seen the movie and never having played the game, or looked at it from a cinematic standpoint like you kind of did after we watched it, I didn't really have much to compare the movie to. So I think the reason my viewpoint is so different from yours is that I'm not differentiating between the movie and the game and what each of them do differently from one another. I only see like the movie in and of itself.
Well, to be clear, I thought these things before looking at the game, because I didn't look at the game before the movie. So I thought the isolation was done really well before I saw what the game was doing. I didn't think there was a lot of claustrophobia, but I still thought it was really tense when I saw the movie without having seen the game. I only watched the game so that I would have something to talk about during this episode, right? So that I could be able to, so that I could draw comparisons, because I think that's an interesting and worthwhile thing to do, is to draw comparisons. But my enjoyment of the movie, I gained a greater appreciation for the movie after seeing the game. But my enjoyment of it and my rating is going to be reflective of how I felt about the movie before I knew about the game, or before I knew what happened in it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I just think it worked really, really well for me. If you liked Event Horizon, you're probably going to like this one.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like this one, still watch Event Horizon. It's very good.
Yeah. And also, if you're a huge Markiplier fan, I feel like there's a lot in this movie that you'll appreciate. And I feel like even for me, maybe it's because I don't watch Markiplier that much. I bought into him as the main character. I mean, I was super well versed in the plot of the movie, as I kind of mentioned before. But I feel like when we were stuck with him as the main character, like, it didn't feel like he was playing Markiplier. Like, it felt like he was playing somebody else, which I kind of appreciated. Like, I was a little bit worried that it was a YouTuber playing a YouTuber, but he felt like he was playing another guy. I felt like he showed a lot of emotion, which I appreciated, but not going to end up as like top 5 best performances of the year. But I think it worked for the movie, and maybe that's just because I don't watch too many of his videos to where I'm so used to him to where it's just like I can't really separate that. But I bought into him as the main character.
Yeah. As much as I kind of felt like Markiplier just acted like he was literally playing the game and reacting to the game, that was his character, I did like his performance overall.
Yeah, I thought his performance was good, but there's something about watching someone not act and be himself and listening to his voice constantly for 10 years, 10 to 12 years, and just being really, really involved with this guy's content and, listening to his podcast and watching his videos and keeping up with his weird 1-year daily video challenge that he did where he deleted the entire channel afterwards. Just being so familiar with him, how he looks and how he sounds, it is really hard to look at that movie and see anything other than Markiplier for me.
Yeah, so kind of like the polar opposite experience for me.
I don't think his performance...
It's kind of the Bruce Springsteen effect for me with Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah, a little
Having
bit.
seen him as Carmi for the first 30 minutes and then, finally settling into it. I mean, I saw Markiplier as Markiplier throughout the whole thing, but I just saw him, but he just so happens to be this convict at the end of the world somewhere in space, and I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I think near the end of the movie, it started to feel less and less like Markiplier, probably because he began to have heavier makeup on him and losing his arm and with the fleshy vines and whatnot. But he doesn't give a bad performance. He's a good actor. So it's really not an issue with his performance. I think his performance is good, but man, that was Markiplier.
That was Markiplier.
Yeah, it was Markiplier. Yeah. I would say it did take a little bit of getting used to for me. Like at first I was like, oh wait, that's Markiplier, and then like 20 minutes I was like, yeah, that's still Markiplier. And then like I feel like the midway point I was like, okay, like I'm getting a sense as to who this guy is. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I mean, fantastic direction from Markiplier. His style is so fascinating.
he has a lot of promise. I will say he's very talented.
Good, good performance. I mean, it's just when he gives us his next project, I'm gonna be super excited for it.
Yeah.
I have to see what it is first.
Maybe it's Squirrel Stapler.
I hope. I love that game so much.
Imagine he directs a FNAF movie. I mean, I'm not super well versed
I think
in
Emma Tammy is already has a
Yeah.
chokehold on that franchise.
Seems like it.
But I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Iron Lung is a weird game to adapt because it's some random David Szymanski game.
I think for that game to work for me as a movie adaptation, it has to have been a lot more grounded than it was. Because I mean, having seen what I remember from seeing videos of the game, it's just you're a guy in a sub. That's
Right.
really all it is. Like, sure, you can add the politics and the, how does humanity, operate in a world where literally every planet and star is just disappeared. But that's really all you need to add for me to make this a better world building for me. Like adding the, again, not to sound like a broken record, the Eldritch world building didn't work for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think the adaptation is very faithful, despite the fact that the game doesn't seem like it has much on the surface. There is an Eldritch element to the game, and just I thought it was very faithful. I just admit it's a weird movie to pick for your first adaptation, and it shows to me at least that Markiplier is pretty set on making things that he's passionate about, things that interest him creatively, and that makes me really excited for what he's going to do next, because he's at an interesting point where he can do this stuff. It's not like most filmmakers who will have to take a project that they don't like just to stay relevant, to stay afloat, right? John M. Chu directing the Step Up movies, for example, where you just kind of have to do these things. You have to make movies, because if you don't make movies, you're not doing your job. Markiplier can make movies, and he's very good at making movies. And then he also has YouTube, which is where he's been doing his job for the past 13 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really, really excited by that prospect, that this guy who's really, really interesting and has this good sensibility and is good at directing and has the kind of the creative freedom to pursue some more things. Yeah, I'm going to be seeing every Markiplier movie from now on. I mean, if he ever does another one, and I hope to God he does, I will be watching it.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, this movie made $21 million like worldwide, which for an indie film with no press, almost little to no marketing, was like a movie that was literally carried by fans of Markiplier. And the fact that it made that much, and the fact that Markiplier, I think, is getting half of the money that it makes. So even just going off of like this weekend, like $10 million is a lot, and considering Iron Lung cost less than $3 million, I would be shocked if he decided to not do another movie, which I'm sure. I don't think there's much stopping him at this point, which I think is great, because I'm really happy for him, and I hope he makes more movies. Like, even though I may not have loved Iron Lung, but I want him to keep doing what he's doing, because I feel like he has a lot of promise as a filmmaker, and I feel like maybe he'll make the right movie for me one day, but I can certainly see him like entering the filmmaking world, and the fact that this movie is doing as well as it did makes me so happy, especially for indie filmmaking.
Yeah, I'm definitely hopeful.
Yeah. He said in a live stream a while ago he wants to work on a comedy at some point. So
That'd be cool.
if that's what he just has to do next, I mean, I'm so down for it.
I mean, there's hints of it in Iron Lung.
Yeah, Iron Lung has some funny bits in it, funny lines.
Some people thought it was really funny.
Yeah,
Dude, the life jacket that killed.
yeah,
Which is ironic because it's a life jacket.
Yeah, that woman in our theater like loved that
She
joke.
was so into it. She was so into it.
Yeah, the Wicked Witch of the West. At least from the laugh. At least from the laugh.
Yeah, it's one of the weird sisters.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything more to say about Iron Lung?
Guess besides ratings.
Besides ratings.
Ratings, okay. I give it
Oh boy.
high 4.5, maybe even a low 5.
Ooh. Which one of us wants to go next?
I'm gonna go ahead and say mine. This is a solid 3 for me.
For me, God, this is probably for now. This is probably a solid 2 out of 5 for me.
That's higher than what you said this morning, so I'll take it as a win.
Yeah. I've been thinking more about it. I feel like it's kind of tricky because when you're mixing in like appreciating filmmaking but not enjoying the experience, not enjoying the viewing experience, it's like, how do you factor that into a score? For at least today, it's a 2 out of 5. But
Yeah.
you know, not the worst movie I've seen this year, but
Be checking his letterbox for it.
yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, speaking of which.
Letterboxd plugs. I am Threnvy on Letterboxd. That is THRNV. I'm realizing that THRNV sounds like the letters THRNV, but that's not what it is. It's THR and then the word envy, like the sin, envy, ENVY. So if you've been looking at it, if you've been being like, why the hell can't I find this guy's Letterboxd? Try that. I have my review of Iron Lung up, in which I describe why I like it so much, similar to what I just did on this podcast, actually. And if you're also interested in my thoughts on the Radio Silence Scream movies, I just reviewed those as well as Ready or Not. So, been on a bit of a Radio Silence kick, I guess you could say.
Yeah. My Letterboxd plug is at MJ Spiegel. That's MJSPIEGEL. I've been kind of lacking. I know I said I would do a lot more reviews in 2026. I published a review for Primate, but I've watched so much since then, and I've kind of lost track on how much to review and when to write them. So I haven't been too active, but I hope to keep some of the ratings going. Hopefully in February when the movie season starts to pick up a little bit. But although I will say January's been pretty good this year. Say for one movie I think was universally disliked, but. And a pretty good January overall, but I feel like once the movie season really starts to kick in, I'll be uploading more. So be on the lookout for that.
yeah. And Letterboxd, you can find me at Invaded Films, INVADEDFILMS. I have my review for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. That's probably the latest right now. Just as a track for when this was recorded, I will probably be having some sort of update on my Letterboxd as far as reviews go sometime like in general. But that being said, this podcast was sponsored by skeletons.com. Do not go to skeletons.com if you have heart condition or are obese or have type 2 diabetes. That being said,
If you have any things that you want to mention about this episode, leave them in the comments. Yeah, if you want to just tell us how scary skeletons.com is. I have never been there. I get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Let us know in the
heebie-jeebies.
let us know in the comments. You agree?
please
You
go at
disagree?
your own risk.
Yeah. What's your thought on Iron Lung? What's your thought on things that aren't Iron Lung?
Skeletons, perhaps.
Maybe skeletons. Talk to us a little bit about skeletons. And yeah, I suppose with that being said, skeletons in the description. Roll credits.